clarity leads to intentional living. Welcome to the Hopefulist with me, Wendy McClure. This is where we turn those nasty, negative thoughts into positive and work toward a happy, fulfilled life. Now, let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Hopefulist. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to dive right in with the quote of the day. And this, of course, comes from my Jen Sincero daily calendar. And she says, "We choose to stay in our stories because we get what I call false benefits from them. We get to keep our identities as a broke person. We get to blame our brokenness on things outside of ourselves, like, I don't have time, I have 7 kids, the economy sucks, can't find a pen to write down that to-do list. We don't have to push ourselves outside of our comfort zones and risk failing, looking like an idiot, losing money, changing and becoming different from our family and friends, and the list goes on. So even though you're stuck and feeling unhappy, these are some of the things that you are getting out of remaining there. So get clear on what you want. Get clear on how you are going to get there. And that is what we are going to be talking about today. Clarity. Clarity. That's a word we don't really hear all that often, right? Not in day-to-day conversation. But it really helps with every aspect of your life. When you know your why, and basically that's what clarity is, it's your why for doing what you want to do, you can focus more intently on your goal and what it means to get there. Imagine with me for a moment the end of your life. You're sitting in your rocking chair and you are looking back on the sum of your entire life. How do you think you're going to feel? Will you have regrets? Now, we all have some regrets, I would think, but the less the better, right? So let me ask you, are you proud? Do you think you will be proud of how you lived your life? Did you live while afraid, which keeps you from trying new things? Did you coast most of your life because you didn't want to get up off the couch, because your 9-to-5 job left you exhausted every day? Did you let your health get away from you because you couldn't buckle down and create the habits you needed in order to live with optimal health? We talked about health last week, right? How do you want to feel on that day when you are looking back? What type of person do you want to be remembered as? Or another way to put it, what do you want your legacy to be? Are you close to that picture now? I know I'm not. I'm getting there. I'm getting closer by the day, but I still have a long way to go. Are you working toward being close to that picture like I just said? Well, if you're not, you are not alone. More than likely, you haven't even thought about it. Most people don't. But it's when you take the time to do such an exercise that what you really want becomes clear. This is how you start to run your day instead of letting the day run you. Because you have a goal. You know what you want, and you are willing to live with intention in order to get there. For example, and I always use health because it's the one we can most relate to, right? Are you looking to get into better health? Do you want to lose weight for a specific purpose? Or is it just to look and feel better. A specific purpose like your daughter's wedding or a high school reunion, it's completely fine. Any why is better than just rolling along. But if something like that is your goal, then buy a dress or cut out a picture of it so you will see it every day. You will be reminded several times a day why losing weight is important to you. For those of you who've been with me, you might recall that around this time last year, might have even been a little bit earlier, I bought a bathing suit that I just loved. And I put it in my bathroom, and I looked at that bathing suit every day. And I wanted to fit in that bathing suit so bad. And I did everything I could to make sure that I did. Yes, I did. I lost weight. Yes, I got off almost exactly the amount of weight that I wanted. I still looked terrible in that bathing suit. It was the cut. It just was never going to look good on me. But that's beside the point. I got another bathing suit that looked fabulous on me. The point is to keep that as a reminder that you can see several times a day why this goal is important to you. But the thing is, you need a plan. You need to come up with a plan that you will follow each and every day until you hit your goal. Last year at this time, I was doing intermittent fasting. That worked really well for me. I had gotten down to a 4-hour eating window. I had said from the get-go, I didn't know if I could ever make that a lifestyle for myself. And I was right. That did not work for me long term. It worked for me in the short term. It helps me lose the amount of weight that I was looking to lose in a reasonable amount of time. But it just got to the point where it was too hard for me. I have an issue with binge eating, and what was starting to happen is, my eating window closed at 4 o'clock, and then around 7 or 7:30, I was started to rummage around the house looking for food, and once I started, I couldn't stop myself, and I just felt that was a pattern that was going to keep continuing as long as I was in the intermittent fasting program. So I decided it was better for me and my health to stop and to come up with a different plan, one that was working for me instead of what ultimately ended up working against me. It worked great at first, but as time went on, it wasn't working out so well. So I needed to change my plan. So whether it be to fit in a dress or just to live longer, to be around for the kids and the grandkids, it's that clarity that gets your butt in gear. Do you want to be remembered as someone who was adventurous? Then you need to go on adventures. Or is it more about kindness? Are you being kind and spreading kindness? What can you do every day to make that happen? That is. I'm going to tell you a little story about something that happened to me just yesterday. A kindness that touched my heart so much. Now, I have been trying to get through at least one podcast without talking about pickleball, but sorry, that's not going to be this podcast. I was at pickleball yesterday, and I was playing with a woman who just started coming to the facility, and I was playing against two people that I've known for quite a long time. And during our play, the woman she had called a shot. She's like, I'll get it. And I just was already in the motion, so I just took the shot. And we ended up losing the point. And she's like, well, see, because if you would have let me take that shot and this and that, and she kind of yelled at me. And I was just like, okay, sorry. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I do feel like I was just scolded, but I get it. Okay, it's not a problem. And I let it go, and it was fine. But as I was driving home after that, my friend who I was playing against called me. And she said, I just wanted to make sure you were okay. And I'm like, what do you mean? She said, well, the way that woman yelled at you was so rude. And I am not about that. I wanted to make sure. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm like, it wasn't a big deal, whatever. She apologized, blah, blah, blah. And just the fact that she reached out to check in on me was a kindness that just doesn't really happen that often, right? So I made sure to respond back to her later in the day with a text message telling her how much her kindness meant to me. So if you have an opportunity to be kind or to be something that you are looking to be remembered as, just do it every chance that you get. If you want to be confident and sure of yourself, then you need to make decisions and stick with them. Even if you fail, you have learned something that you can avoid in the future, and that in itself is a confidence builder. In order to be confident, you have to be willing to try things you know nothing about, so you are overall confident instead of just in certain areas. So how do you do this? Well, by trying new things and learning about things you don't currently know about. Take chances. Take every opportunity that may hold some interest for you and go with it. It may not work out, or it may be the greatest fun you have ever had. Once you get clarity and figure out that why, you can plan for how it will be done. Make a plan and then stick to it. And remind yourself often of the reason why you have decided to go on this journey. We all wish we were more like certain people in our lives. I think so anyway. So ask them how they go about planning their day, their week, their month. And when you are in doubt about yourself, ask what you think they would do if they were faced with making an excuse to get out of something hard or to just go ahead and do it. Even better, make them your accountability partner. Ask them if they will check in with you several times a week to see if you are living intentionally and doing what you say you will do. It's amazing how much more committed we get when there is some sort of accountability involved. It doesn't even have to be a specific person, just someone who's going to check in on you to see how you're doing. So what is it you want most in this life? No matter your age, there is still time. I'm going to quell that little argument right now. I don't care if you're in your 60s, your 70s, or your 80s. I spent the first 40 plus years of my life being miserable. And I'm so glad I figured out how to be happier in my late 40s. You know why? Because it's way better than never. So if you can find something that brings you happiness, even for those last few years, it will be worth it. Trust me. I am a much happier person now because I live intentionally. First and foremost, I follow the 5 pillars of the Hopefulist, which one is living with intention. But I also intentionally stay in the right mindset. I feel gratitude. I make sure my world is as void as possible of toxicity. And I persist in all of these habits. It's a decision and then an action that I take every day because I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to being miserable. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep my happiness flowing. And I set up my days so I run them instead of running me. Well, I'm getting better anyway. I'm getting better. I actually have a series right now on Instagram about creating a morning routine. If you aren't following me there on IG, start at _Hopefulist. A morning routine is the best way to set up your day exactly as you need it to be to make sure you are getting in everything you need to. Living with intention. Setting up your day, and it may not always go as planned, but if you don't have a plan at all, then that's 1,000 times worse. So please check out that series, completely free, posted several times a week on Instagram. If you would like some help with getting clarity and where you want to be when you're sitting in that rocking chair at the end of your life, let me know. I can help. I can help you figure it all out and start living with intention. It's really so easy once you figure out why it's important to you. So just shoot me a message at thehopefulist1@gmail.com to set up your free call. If you like this episode, please leave me a review and hit that subscribe or follow button and tell your friends and family, because you know why? The more hopefulists there are in the world, the better. Now, go on out there and be intentional and be badass, of course. You know I'm here cheering you on. Thank you for listening to The Hopefulist. Now, don't you feel good? Make sure you come back next week. See you then.